first live stream of the UK Column Live. We're out on the UK Column website and on TNS Radio. Thanks to Vinny for slotting us in today for this special half-hour broadcast. The main subject of today is going to be obviously Roger Hayes and his incarceration. Brian's obviously with me. Morning, Brian.
Yeah, good morning.
You all right?
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. I've been looking forward to this, getting UK Column live.
Yep.
And of course it's Independence Day in America.
Indeed.
Where we know many of the similar problems, in fact some worse problems, are going on. So for people who are new to the UK Column, we're delighted you're with us today.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
So let's just jump straight in because we've only got half an hour. Monday evening, some certain events happened up at the Wirral around Merseyside with regards to Roger Hayes, the chairman of the British Constitution Group,
Yeah.
and obviously the Lawful Bank. So you had contact. When was the first you heard of Roger actually being in prison? Because there was no run up, there was no warning of it, was there?
Well, I think we just set the scene for a few viewers who might not know about Roger. As Louise has just said, Roger Hayes, chairman of the British Constitution Group. Roger has been campaigning extremely hard for some time about a number of issues. One is the undermining and destruction of the British Constitution.
Is your mic on? Sorry, just to jump in. Oh no, it's all right. I've just got TNS on, so it's fine. They can hear you now.
Okay, that's fine. So Roger's been fighting very hard to try and stop the undermining and destruction of the British Constitution. And I'm going to state just straight off that contrary to everything you're hearing from the government at the moment, we do have a constitution. And what is going on in the background is that this is being whittled away in order to bring us fully under statute law and European law.
Yeah.
So Roger's been campaigning on that. He's been following on the excellent work that was done by the Magna Carta Society.
Yes.
So we'd like to give the Magna Carta Society full credit for the enormous work they did. Roger's also been fighting to get out information about the Lawful Bank.
Your mic level is too high for Brian. Yeah. Mike, if you can say, all right, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, yes, sorry, Brian, carry on.
So Roger has been a campaigner over many years now for the British Constitution Group, where we've been trying to get out the truth as to what's happening in this country. It's very, very dangerous for Britain because essentially we're seeing common law stripped away, and basic rights and freedoms of the individual. So Roger's been a very outspoken speaker with the British Constitution Group. More recently he's been touring the country to talk about what's happening within the banking systems, the criminality that we're now clearly seeing emerge in the British and the international monetary system. And he has been proposing the Lawful Bank, which is an initiative to basically get money reissued as credit, clear of the burden of debt from these criminal private banks. And
he's been going all around the country giving talks on the Lawful Bank. And
yes, he recently did a tour. I think I'm amazed at his stamina because he travelled all over the country giving talks. Yeah. And the aim was to get out and get interest going into the fact that what we're being told about the national debt and there's no money, this is complete fiction by the government. And if we started to take control of our own money supply, we wouldn't be in this mess at the moment. So against that background, on Monday evening, early evening, I got a telephone call to say, did I know that Roger had been arrested, which I didn't. And in fact, shortly after that, I had a call from one of Roger's daughters, who also told me, of course, that her father had been arrested. And that was the start of what has been an amazing story, which we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. So he wasn't arrested and taken to the police station, and then maybe bailed, like normal procedures. If somebody's arrested, usually they get bailed, don't they? And then it's a court date.
Absolutely.
And which then the public can attend if wanted, and they're aware of, and he can organise his defence and legal representation.
This was quite exceptional. I'm just going to say that if listeners or viewers can hear a little beep in the background, It's that our intruder alarm has decided to play up. It's got a fault, so if you hear a little beep, that's what it is. No, what emerged very quickly, and if this is coming first-hand from Roger's family, is that at about 9:30 on Monday morning, 2 police cars turn up at Roger's home address. He's arrested. He's placed in the police cars, and they obviously drive off. And the family know nothing more until about 6:30 in the evening, Monday evening, when they receive a call from one of the warders inside Liverpool prison, who say that Roger said to them that Roger Hayes has been sentenced to prison, and he's currently in Liverpool prison.
Okay.
So an absolutely horrible situation for the family. One minute Roger is with them, the next minute he's carted away by the police. They don't know where he is, what's happened to him, and the next thing he's in prison. And the UK column put out a press release as soon as we could about this,
Yeah.
and we used the word Stasi because we said that basically this is yet another example of the fact that we are moving into very dangerous territory in this country, where somebody can be lifted from the streets by the police, and the next thing is they're in prison, and we, the general public, do not know what's happened to them, and we don't see justice being done. Now, at the time we put that press release out, some people responded to us, not many I'm going to say, but some responded and said we were over-egging this case.
Yeah.
And that it was wrong to use that type of terminology. But I'm going to say that we were informed about 50 minutes ago that a gentleman has now been in prison to see Roger Hayes, and so talking to you this morning, we're going to be able to talk firsthand to you about what actually happened.
Yeah, up to date, like from this morning, literally, if we had the phone call about an hour ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
But at the time when you put the press release out, nobody had any clue of actually what charges Roger was up against.
No.
At first, with the first news, when you did the first bulletin on the column,
Yeah.
there was no actual indication of what he'd actually been charged with and what he was actually in prison for.
Well, we only had an idea because we've known that for 18 months Roger has been challenging his council tax. He's actually been withholding it. He hasn't been refusing to pay. What he's been doing is withholding his council tax because from his own case in his own area with Wirral Council, and this is mirrored with councils across the country, our taxes are being used for unlawful purposes. It might range from the fact that money is disappearing into fraudulent companies. That certainly happened here in Plymouth. We know that proportion of council tax is helping to fund at the moment, is going around in a circle effectively helping to fund what the government is doing with unlawful wars overseas. And other people have balked at the moment of paying money to the government system, because we watch as this government, and it was the same with the Labour government, are acting unlawfully in so many of the things that they've been doing,
Yeah.
of which the worst must be that we are attacking foreign countries.
Absolutely.
So we are creating these wars overseas, and public money is being used to do it. So Roger had withheld his money on that basis, but he was also withholding money because he said it was obvious to him that he was not getting value for his council tax, and also the council couldn't fully account for where his money was going. So Roger said, until you can explain exactly where my money is going, I am withholding it. So that was the start of the legal battle.
Right, okay.
But you are absolutely right. Initially, when he turns up in prison, we'd no idea what had happened to him. Now that's I can now clarify that because we know exactly what went on.
Okay.
And the main part of the story starts with Tuesday the 26th of June, which is last Tuesday, when Wirral Council effectively went for a committal hearing against Roger.
Right.
That was in Liverpool Court. And they claim well, they say that Roger didn't turn up, which he didn't. But we now know from speaking to Roger inside the prison this morning that he received no notification of that hearing. Now, some viewers and listeners may find that that's difficult to believe, but I can say with total confidence that we know this happens in other cases, that people are, I'm going to use the expression, fitted up by the fact that they're not informed of a case, and therefore they don't attend and they can't defend themselves. But as a result of that court case where Roger was not present, the judge, who was a judge called Abelson, issued a bench warrant for his arrest, and for some reason there was then a delay, but they decided to enact that warrant on Monday, and Roger was arrested.
Okay, so he was arrested and taken where? Straight to the court originally, first off?
No, what actually happened to him is that he was taken to the police station. He spent 3 hours in the police station. And then he was taken into the court, and in Roger's own words this morning, he walked into the court. He was asked whether he was Roger of the Hayes family. Now, there's a reason for this slightly strange language, in as much as Roger has been testing the rights of individuals, and therefore he wasn't going to call himself Mr. Viewers and listeners can check some of this stuff out themselves. We've only got 30 minutes. But essentially he was asked if he was Roger of the Hayes family. He said he was, and then straight away the judge said, I'm going to put you in prison. So at no time did Roger Hayes have any legal representation with him, but in any case he was not given any opportunity whatsoever to conduct his own defence, and he was simply sentenced to 21 days in prison.
Okay, yeah. So nobody was in the court. Was it just the judge? Do you think?
It was the
judge and a few clerks.
It was the judge and the legal team from the council. Okay. So Roger was totally unrepresented. But in any case, they were not there to allow him to put any form of defence present. And a critical thing that we reported perfectly accurately in our first UK column news report was there was no public in that hearing either. And a spokesman for Wirral Council confirmed to me this morning that second case where Roger was committed to prison, in that second case it was not advertised on the court lists. So the general public had absolutely no way of knowing that case was taking place, and so as the UK column stated on Monday and subsequently, Roger Hayes has been lifted by the police. He has been put through a secret court system with no jury, no representation, no public present, and he's now in prison.
So what were the actual, when the judge says, are you Roger of the Hayes family, what is exactly has he gone in for then? What exactly has he been in prison for at the end of the day?
Basically, he's gone into prison for withholding his council tax. They are saying willfully refusing to pay his council tax, but at no stage in any of the hearings that Roger's previously done has the council won their case, or have they properly allowed him to conduct his argument as to why he's doing this. Now, a key part of this comes from what we're actually seeing happening in the courts, and for the benefits of new viewers, I know that there will be people out there who know what I'm about to say, but the key part is that we believe at the moment we live in a country where we are ruled by common law, provided we don't hurt other people around us, we don't damage their property, we can get on with our lives. If we do something wrong, under the Magna Carta, we should be judged by a jury of our peers. We believe we operate under that law system. What has actually now happened is that by deceit, and it is deceitful, the government and the establishment have slid. Here we've got a base of common law, they've slid another layer of law over the top of it, which is statute law, which is effectively policy. Now, common law says that no man shall be deprived of property or fined or imprisoned, but that there's a decision made by his peers, a jury of his peers, and we have now seen with Roger Hayes, chairman of the British Constitution Group, that the establishment is so frightened of his message that they're prepared to put him through what is a star chamber. It's a secret court where Roger has had no access to common law defence. Now, what was interesting is in the beginning, when the UK column, British Constitution Group, the Magna Carta Society and many other people were warning that this was happening, they were poo-pooed, people weren't paying attention to it, but now we're seeing the impact that we can have a judge totally unaccountable to anybody committing somebody to prison. And it gets worse, actually, because there was a statement made by Wirral Council this morning, if I can just find that. I'm not sure I'll be able to call it up, but I may have lost it. But the council is saying that because Roger did not pay his council tax, they have put him in prison. When some people were phoning the police and the prison authorities over the last couple of days to find where Roger was, in a couple of occasions the police directed inquiries back to the council. So what we're starting to see is a corporate body, which is Wirral Council, has now got the power to put somebody through a secretive court and imprison them. This is Stasi. This is very frightening stuff. Very
frightening. So Danny's been down there today.
Yes, a gentleman called Danny Bamping has been able to get into the prison, and I think we'd like to say on air that we would like to thank the governor of Liverpool Prison because I think he took a very responsible and measured approach, which is that he's allowed Mr. Bamping in to see Roger. That has enabled Roger to start conducting a proper defence. And the aim is to get Roger brought back into court under habeas corpus, which is to bring the body of the person back into the into the so-called justice system. But at least that will then give Roger an opportunity to properly argue his case. And it will also allow us to bring this whole matter right into the public domain, because people out there just do not understand how dangerous things are getting in this country. We know that Kenneth Clarke is calling for more secret courts. We've got Miliband yesterday saying that we should have a judge in charge of investigations into the banks. No, we shouldn't, in my opinion. We should have ordinary good people. We don't need these judges. We don't need them to be telling us what to do. They are responsible to the wider general public. But we are seeing a creeping police state coming in, and we were going to mention in a few minutes time this new snoopers charter that Theresa May is bringing in, where not only have we got British police and British security forces snooping on our telephone calls and emails, we're now going to widen it up to the European Union and America.
I think I'd just like to add, we've also seen more and more private security firms getting involved within the police. And after speaking to the whistleblower at the Olympics, he was saying that G4S are trying to get even into the court system as well, into the courts. I mean, we know they're doing the transporting from prisons and money and everything else, but they're wanting to get even more involved with the whole judicial system as well as policing. So we've now got private security firms taking the role of police officers, and now at some point possibly getting into the court system.
Well, it's happening. We know G4S is into the police system. It's into handling prisoners, and they want even more power.
They do,
And David Cameron, I think, is very, very dangerous in this, because he's determined to give these unaccountable corporations, these huge global corporations, are getting more and more power to arrest us, detain us, process us, imprison us. And this is the Stasi system. When you back it up with what we know is happening to mothers and fathers and families in the children's services case, where they're now bringing in if you fight the system, in comes the psychiatric advice to say that you're mad or dangerous. That's exactly what was done in the Soviet Union. And we are watching both Labour and Conservative bring this in now. And that is why Roger Hayes has been fighting, and I believe this is partly the reason why they've been so vicious in locking him up in prison.
How did he seem when you spoke to Danny? We literally got off the phone to Danny about 11:30.
Yes.
Is Roger all right? Is he in good spirits?
Roger is Roger, so he's in very good spirits. He's totally in a fighting mood. He's already written his personal affidavit, so his statement of what factually took place. So whilst we're giving you this broadcast, we are now in the position of talking absolute fact as to what did and did not go on around this court case and Roger's imprisonment. But the point is that Roger has been quite high profile and outspoken. If the state is now in the position of trying to incarcerate political opponents, people are warning about what the state is really doing. This country is getting in a very dangerous position.
It is. Yeah, I wanted to get onto Birkenhead because obviously we had Malcolm incarcerated for Birkenhead, as well as Rusty was incarcerated after Roger went to the courts that day and arrested the judge, and Malcolm and Rusty spent time at Her Majesty's prison. And we had never had any reporting on the BBC or the mainstream.
No, well, there's two main issues in this. Again, for viewers who are not aware of this, but in early last year in Birkenhead, with 600 people on the streets, Roger Hayes and a small group of other people, some who were very brave because ultimately they were imprisoned for a period for what they did, but they arrested a judge for acting unlawfully in his own court. That was Judge Peake. And the key thing about this is that 600 people were on the streets of Birkenhead to protest. They knew what was going on. They understood that these courts are being run unlawfully. 600 people on the streets, police cars, police dog handlers, not one word reported in the mainstream press. And I'm going to say not one word or any form of report on mainstream BBC News. So we've got this bizarre situation now that where substantial numbers of people are appearing on the streets to say something's wrong with the law system in the company, the BBC is not reporting.
Okay, so talking on the BBC, I gave the BBC a little call yesterday and got through to their press office and asked them if they could explain Marcus Agius, who at the time had stood down from being chief exec of Barclays Bank, why the BBC were employing him at a rate of £47,000 a year for 28 days work, and what exactly was this man who's involved with the fraudulent interest rate fixing, what is he, what advice is he actually giving to the BBC? And they declined to comment. I think you emailed them, or we got an email back, didn't we? And they referred us to
the website.
To a website. No response really, just a link to the website of what his duties were, and there wasn't really much info there anyway of what he actually does. And now I believe he's been reappointed. Is that right, Brian?
Well, that was what we heard yesterday afternoon, that Marcus Agius had stood down as chairman of Barclays Bank, but then it would appear that he's been reinstated. I'm not sure whether that's still the case or not. But I'll just hold the UK column up, because the UK column was reporting on this man over a week ago, and as Louise has highlighted, what we were talking about was that the BBC is paying him £47,000 for 28 days work to advise the BBC Trust. And we simply wanted to ask the BBC, can you explain to us how the BBC is paying this man such a huge amount of money, while we have ordinary families finding it difficult to pay licence fees? But now it's got more complex, because we can say to the BBC, can you explain why you are paying this man this vast sum of money when this man has been chairman of a bank which is now being shown to have been involved, I haven't heard it reported on the press, but I'm sure if we ask most people in the street what their opinion of Barclays' actions over fiddling of interest rates is, they would say it's criminal activity.
Well, somebody should be in prison, surely.
Absolutely. It's defrauding the public. It has defrauded the public of who knows how many million or billion pounds. So this gentleman, Marcus Agius, has been chairman of Barclays. How much he knew, we don't know, but he has had the responsibility, and yet the BBC thinks this is the right sort of man to provide advice as to how to run the BBC. Now, something is very wrong here, but it gets worse, because when we listen to the news reports, we have the BBC basically talking about what's happening with Barclays. On mainstream BBC News last night, Robert Peston was covering this topic, but nobody points out with any force the fact that there's a conflict of interest. How can the BBC be commenting on what Barclays is doing and what Marcus Agius is doing when they are actually taking advice from him and paying him this huge sum of money?
Well, 47,000 a year, I mean, it's shocking.
So we come back to one of the reasons why we've felt it necessary to get UK column TV working, because it's obvious to us that at the moment, aside from what's being done in government undermining the Constitution, the BBC in particular is actually working as a propaganda tool. The BBC is not reporting what's happening in our courts. It's not reporting what's happening in the children's courts. We need to get this exposed.
We do need to get this. I've just actually noticed the Bob Diamond, who's gone as well from Barclays. He's going to be questioned by the MPs today.
Well,
apparently.
Questioned by the MPs. Where are the police? Where's the serious fraud office in this? When are these people going to be brought to account for what is clearly criminal activity? You know,
I mean, at the end of the day, we've had Roger Hayes going in prison, being put in prison from a secret court, thrown into prison for not paying his council tax, but Marcus Agius, Bob Diamond and all the other banking cartels are all walking around and probably just going to walk into other jobs in other banks and possibly repeat what's going on. I mean, what's going on?
This actually highlights it, doesn't it? We have one man who can be put in prison very quickly for owing a few £1,000s worth of money. We can have national and international banks blatantly fiddling the books. I'll use that expression. They are distressing millions of people, and somehow these people are above the law. The fact the BBC is then tied into it makes this a particular dangerous situation.
I know we're about to go off air, Mike. Just give me 2 seconds. I don't know if people are aware, Ian McFerrin just sent us a text before we came on, and he said, do we realise that it's costing the taxpayer between £4,000 and £4,500 a day to keep Roger Hayes in prison? And is that money well spent by by our government? I think not.
So what we'd like to say to viewers is we are going to try and get the real truth out about what's happening in this country. We've got the defence cuts. We've got Theresa May with new snooping policies on our emails, the telephone calls. That information can be given to the European Union and the USA. The UK column is saying there is a dictatorship forming in this country, and we need to start getting the truth out to many people. So I hope you've enjoyed being with us.
And I hope the live stream went all right, and Mike was flapping a little bit before, but it seems to be all right. There was some sound issues. We'll be back on tomorrow for our normal 2-hour show. Thank you very much, Vinny, for having us, and thank you for people who are tuning in for the first live stream on the UK Column website. See you tomorrow.